We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Monday, but I'm recording this on Sunday night, all by my lonesome, with a wing and a prayer. It's just me. Now, I know I used to do this all the time when it was just me when we started out on the show, but as of late, we've got a lot of guests that come on, lives, and that sort of thing. But this has been a long weekend, and I haven't really had a chance to prepare much. I've been watching the news, I've been doing some TikToks, got a lot of other shit going on. We're just coming off a 2 day overnight with my granddaughter. Now, I love having her here. She is fun as hell. She's a smartass, and I love that. But it's a lot of work, man. It's fucking tiring. I'm way too old for this. That said, she's going to be coming back a couple times this week too, and I'm looking forward to it. It was funny. We were coming in from outside, and um, what I did was, if you're on TikTok, there's one of the TikTok shop things that have this gun that shoots out 1 billion bubbles. I thought, I should love that. So I took her outside on the dock and we started doing that. And after 3 minutes, she'd pretty much had her fill. So we were done with the bubbles. We're coming back into the building and she knows exactly where to go because she's been here before. And she walks in the door and she stops and said, "Whoa, that's weird." I said, "What's that?" She says, "I've been here so long that I feel like I live here." I said, "Funny thing you should say that, honey. Grandma and I were saying that same damn thing earlier today." I'm kidding, of course. I love having her around. It is work, and it's work that I'm not used to doing, but I'm more than happy to do it. In addition to that, we got to meet our new grandson, who I told you about the other day, who was born on May 31st at 12:01 a.m. We went up to the hospital with my granddaughter and my wife, and we got to meet our grandson. And he's a little guy. He was like 7 pounds, 14 ounces. That's not really that little, but he's a handsome devil. I got to say that. He gets it from my side now. Not his mom's side's pretty good looking folks too. So, um, but he seemed to be very content, very happy, and we got to see him. And I think we're going to see him again tomorrow. So that's even better. Actually, today, as you're listening to this on Monday. But it didn't stop there, see, because my niece gave birth to a brand new baby boy about 2 weeks ago, and we went out to see him later on Sunday. And I'm just trying to imagine what Christmas is going to be like with two toddlers, similar in age, going nuts. It's going to be pretty funny. It's going to be like a little tag team, and it's going to be fun around the holidays and in the next year or so. So anyway, that's why I'm kind of unprepared, and I'm just here, and we're going to talk about some of the stuff that's going on, and there's plenty of shit going on, goofy fucking shit. As I watch the Trump administration and Donald Trump particularly, I'm noticing something. They've always done crazy, weird stuff, gone off the edge a little bit, but it's really getting bad now. I mean, it's almost embarrassing if Republicans had any shame at all, and um, it's just unfucking believable, unbelievable. We heard the story um, about this Truth Social post that Donald Trump made. Now, he's made some crazy things. He said some crazy things. But President Donald Trump spewed out a bizarre conspiracy theory, reposting an outlandish claim that former President Joe Biden died in 2020 and was replaced with clones. But it wasn't that Joe Biden actually died, it said he was executed. Yeah, Joe Biden was executed, and it's just a clone of Joe Biden who was playing the role as president. Well, if that's the case, why the hell were you trying to take him to court? If Joe Biden was dead, why were you trying to find him guilty of bribery? Then you're saying that Joe Biden didn't commit bribery, that it was this fucking clone I mean, Jesus Christ, this is so silly. Late Saturday night on a social media platform, True Social, Trump shared a post from a pro Trump account that seemingly alleged Biden was killed in 2020 and the country had been run by clones, doubles, and robotic engineered, soulless, mindless entities during the entire Biden's term. He said there is no hashtag Joe Biden executed in 2020. Hashtag Biden clones, doubles, and robotic engineered soulless, mindless entities are what you see. Democrats don't know the difference. The post that Trump shared read just that. Now, I'm not saying that Donald Trump wrote that, but he retruthed it as if it were real. I mean, what could possibly be the reason that he would do something like that? And I'll tell you what it is. This is very common with malignant narcissists. Um, they will say crazy stuff, but once they get cornered, they will say and do virtually anything. They start flailing. And that's what Donald Trump is doing here. He's absolutely flailing about this. Now, reporters reached out to the White House for comment. Um, Now, Trump's wife was previously at the center of the similar conspiracy theories. Back in 2009, Trump denied rumors and conspiracy theories that flooded the internet, which claimed his first lady, Melania Trump, had been replaced by a body double during his first term in White House. Don't think that's true. The fake news Photoshop pictures of Melania then propelled conspiracy theories that it's actually not her by my side in Alabama and other places, Trump tweeted. At the time, they are only getting more deranged with time. Well, certainly no more deranged than you, Donnie Trump. Last month, Trump entertained another conspiracy theory that Biden hid his cancer diagnosis while in office. The White House announced on May 18th that Biden was diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. Trump alleged there are things going on that the public wasn't informed about. Oh, yeah. You think, Mr. Transparency? We haven't seen one of your physicals, reports on your physicals yet. You're falling asleep at state get togethers. You're talking in gibberish. And we're supposed to worry about Joe Biden, who is, in fact, no longer president. Trump then appeared to suggest that the situation should be investigated. Of course, everything Donald Trump everything that comes out of his mouth should be fucking investigated. He said, why wasn't the cognitive ability, why wasn't that discussed? And I think the doctor said he's just fine, he continued. And it's turned out that's not so. It's very dangerous. Look, there is no longer politically correct. This is dangerous for our country. But he's not the fucking president anymore. And there was nothing that ever suggested that anything untoward was going on, that he was not in a good cognitive state. Now, Donald, we don't know anything about your situation. You tell us you passed these simple tests, but we've not seen any documentation, and we don't see it in your behavior and your performance when you're on stage or behind a mic. This is all about diversion and distraction. Donald Trump is living in an absolute shit show. Every way he turns, he's losing. He's losing court cases. Courts are finding against tariffs. And he's cornered right now. And when these people get cornered, they do some crazy stuff. They can even be dangerous, maybe even violent, depending on the circumstance. But this is what they do when they're cornered. They flail. And that's exactly what he's doing. Now, I mentioned before, maybe it was in the TikTok and maybe not on the podcast. No, it was with Old Soul. But there's a lot of things that are going on with Donald Trump. Like I've said, he's got 34 felony convictions. He's been adjudicated as a sexual predator. He's been impeached twice. He stole classified I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on with him. And he tries to divert and distract away from everything. And, he's fairly successful at it. So he's got all this stuff going on and he's trying to divert away from it. That's always been his practice. So now he's going to talk about whether Joe Biden is cognitively diminished or not. Again, who fucking cares? He's no longer the president. When he was president, he performed pretty well, unlike Donald Trump, who's currently the president, seems to be cognitively diminished and is failing at every fucking turn. Now, we had an interesting situation out in Colorado yesterday. A man, I'd like to understand how this is even possible. A man with a makeshift flamethrower yelled, "Free Palestine," and threw an incendiary device into a group that had assembled to raise attention for Israeli hostages in Gaza. Law enforcement officials said Sunday. Now, 6 people were injured, some with burns. The suspect, guy by the name of Mohammed Sabri Solomon, 45, expected to face charges in connection with the attack the FBI was investigating as a terroristic act. The burst of violence at the popular Pearl Street pedestrian mall, a 4-block area in downtown Boulder, unfolded against the backdrop of a war between Israel and Hamas. You know, the one that Donald Trump said he was going to end. It occurred barely a week after a man who also yelled "Free Palestine" was charged with fatally shooting 2 Israeli embassy staffers outside of a Jewish museum. Now, sadly, the attacks like these are becoming too common across the country. This is an example of how perpetrators of violence continue to threaten communities. The 6 victims who were wounded range in age from 67 to 88, and the injuries span from serious to minor. This actually happened. And this is what happens when you get somebody who is a president of the United States who's not very bright and incompetent. Now, the people on the far left that wanted to blame Joe Biden as Genocide Joe because of the way he was handling things, they didn't vote, or they voted for Donald Trump, and this is what they've got. I've said this many times. These people, I hope you understand that you now have blood on your hands. You may not like hearing that. You may push back against me for saying that, but the facts are the facts. We got the shooting. We've got this guy with a flamethrower. How does a guy with a flamethrower get to walk around in public and somebody doesn't do anything about it? The one thing about this Israeli-Hamas thing is that if anybody speaks against Israel, then they're immediately called an anti-Semite. And I'm certainly not an anti-Semite. And I certainly don't have a problem with the people of Israel or the country of Israel. I do have a problem with Benjamin Netanyahu. He's basically Donald Trump in Israel. And he has every motivation to keep this war going, and he is. What people have to understand is when Joe Biden was president, he was president of the United States. He could only do so much with the Israeli-Hamas war. But the one thing he did that Donald Trump is not doing is he held the reins on Benjamin Netanyahu. You better not do this. You better not do that. Otherwise, we're going to cut this off or do something else. And as I said, when Donald Trump came into office, the worst thing he could do is exactly what he is doing, and that is basically letting Benjamin Netanyahu do whatever he wants. And as I said, Benjamin Netanyahu has no motivation to end the war. So it's become an absolute host of atrocities in this thing. The people in Gaza are suffering mightily. I'll grant you that. And as I've said so many times before, this war, this conflict has been going on well before I was even born. It was going on probably ever since Israel was made a state in 1948. They were made a country then. Then they had the Gaza Strip with the Palestinian people. And it's been 2 groups at loggerheads for a long time. And of course, Hamas is a terrorist organization who's now fighting against Israel, who also happens to be funded by Qatar, Donald Trump's new buddies who want to give him a plane. We've got to talk about that in a moment. But this has been going on for decades and decades, and Donald Trump thought he could wrap this thing up easily. A lot of presidents have tried. Some have even come close to it. Carter came close to it. He got some peace agreement, but of course that didn't last. So now we're in this thing, and it's worse than ever. More people are dying. Innocent people are dying. Palestinians are dying. And it is a horrible thing. I've said this before. I don't pick sides in this thing because it depends on who you're talking about. We know Hamas is a terrorist organization. They should be bombed into oblivion. But while in the process of doing that, you're killing thousands of innocent Palestinian people. Now, does Israel have a right to fight back after they were attacked? Absolutely. But you see the conundrum here. We've got one faction on the far left. Well, I won't say far left, but in Israel. And then we have Hamas, and they're fighting. And what happened is the people in Gaza, the Palestinians, are caught in the middle. Um, a lot of people want to make Israeli citizens villains. They are not. It's not them. It's the leader of that country. Now, if you don't understand it, all you have to do is look at the United States of America. We as Democrats or independents, should we be critiqued based on our leader? I think not. The things Donald Trump is doing is absolutely atrocious, and we should not be held responsible. And the same can be said for Israel. Hamas is a little different deal. They are terrorists. The Palestinians essentially are poor people that are just trying to live their lives. So that's how they're caught in the middle. And this is where we are right now. So now what happens is that all leaks over into our country. We've got anti-Semites. We've got Israeli folks protesting the situation as they should. But anger's whipped up, and things like this, the shooting outside a synagogue, or some guy walking around with a flamethrower. This whole situation is a very tough situation. It's a difficult situation. And for somebody to handle it needs to be an expert or talented at being a diplomat. I think we can both agree that Donald Trump is nowhere near a diplomat. In fact, he's doing what he did with COVID. He's doing nothing. And we can see what happens when you do nothing. Over 1 million people died of COVID. War rages in the Gaza Strip, not to mention Ukraine and Russia. Donald Trump isn't somebody who accomplishes things or builds things. All he knows how to do is destroy things. And that's what he's doing. Now, these people in Gaza, the people in Ukraine, or the people starving down in South America, he doesn't care about those people. All he cares about how it's going to make him look. And this dumb fuck thinks that by doing what he's doing, that makes him look good. Clearly, that's not the case. You can talk about the cruelty in Project 2025. For me personally, I think that the incompetence or the negligence that we're getting out of this party, the Republican Party, may be the most dangerous thing altogether. Certainly on an international level, it's causing all kinds of problems, from the violence in the two wars to the tariffs and the retribution we're getting from those people who have had those horrible tariffs put on them. It's all affecting us. It's all affecting